you have heard of them. We've been talking a lot about them in the press. And we're very excited to be covering various crucial aspects from education to hunger, eradication to technology, my favorite topic, given that that's my background, as well as advancements and partnerships. As we know, we can't do anything alone, we always go further and faster with others. So, Bunchful has committed to delivering on the UN Sustainable Development Goals, and which were formed as a blueprint to creating a better world. We have our fierce leader here, as Raquel, who will be joining us a little later. But just to introduce myself, I'm Christelle Desnoyers. I will be today's moderator, and I'm mostly a tech person who's had an entire career in New York, despite the very British accent. I am from England, France, and Turkey. Have landed here 30 years ago and have become American this year. And I was a former chief of staff at Techstars, the largest pre-seed investor in startups in the world, along with Y Combinator, which we will mention. We are really pleased to partner with such a diverse group of people and innovators today across such a broad spectrum of fields related to giving. So as we always look at in tech, we are always building strong and high-powered growth companies, but we always remember where we come from, because a startup is only one person at the beginning in this idea. And so giving back is as important to the tech world as well as to the rest of it. So I don't know if any of you know what Bunchful means. I know that I had to kind of look it up when I was preparing for this wonderful event, so I'm just curious in the audience here. Anyone wants to take a quick guess? I'll put you guys on the spot. Come on, a few volunteers.
Abundance, joyful, the art.
So abundance, joyful, and the art of giving. That's a great answer. All right, well, please join me in welcoming actually the very founder and CEO and chair of Bunchful Technologies, Raquel Miller, to tell us more about what it means to truly be Bunchful and how the pandemic inspired her to bring her gifts to the world.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. I was hoping I could bring this mic with me, but I guess not. Good afternoon, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
First of all, I want to say to each and every one of you here today, thank you. Thank you. You are the embodiment of true giving. You know, in my journey, before I even talk about my journey to founding Bunchful, I'm going to talk a little bit about my journey to founding today. So there were, as I started to create this event and had an amazing event that I was putting together, oh, this is going to be great, this is wonderful. And then I realized in the middle of it, these crucial, the most crucial mistake with our date, and had to move our date around. And in doing so, getting all the calls, all the emails, I'm so sorry, I'm not able to make it at your new date. Please tell us about the next event. And then getting a new audience and having everyone show up today. I just want to say thank you for being here. Sometimes on the journey, when you're giving birth to something new, and you're not familiar, or all the pieces are not exactly clear, have not crystallized yet, sometimes the easiest thing to do is to say, I'm so sorry, I'm afraid of what this new journey means, or I'm afraid of what may or may not happen, and we let that fear conquer us. But today is a testament to being able to overcome that fear and face all the things that have brought us, that are part of our own journey and self-development. Today is not really about me. I really created today to be a celebration of you, a celebration of the work that you are doing, all the ways that you are giving back, all the work that you do to help and empower others. So again, I want to say thank you. Thank you for the work that has brought you here today. Now, as I look out at the audience, I realize many of our members, audience members, have not yet shown up. So we hope that they will be trickling in. But regardless, we are memorializing today to live as a testament to the work and the challenges that we may face as we move forward, but that we will also overcome. I want to say thank you as well. I want to say thank you to Jessica Sophia Wong. I want to say thank you to our team, LeVar, Jordan, all the team in the background who have helped us get here today. And I want to say thank you to our audience. We're going to do everything in our power to make sure that the work that you do here today and afterwards shine very brightly and across many platforms. So, we'll talk a little bit more about the reason I founded Bunchful. But Crystal asked the question before, what does Bunchful mean? Well, I coined the term Bunchful to mean sharing your wealth and your abundance with others. And that's what it means to be Bunchful. So, if you have not yet seen the term in the dictionary or on Google, just imagine it, that's coming there someday soon. So, thank you everyone, thank you. We're looking forward to having a wonderful day, to hearing your stories, and to amplifying your stories beyond the reach of this room. Thank you.
So you'll hear again from Raquel later, and as she might have mentioned, she's going to be doing a little keynote as well later this afternoon. So next, we'd like to introduce you to our very first opening speaker today, who will briefly tell you their stories of giving back, as we are very much excited to hear about all the stories today. And as you know, the theme of this year's event is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, specifically group. And as I said, good health and well-being is what we're going to be focusing on today. And witnessing how each speaker contributes to this goal. And everybody has their own little way of contributing, which is going for you to discover this afternoon. So let me introduce you to Ayo Adewumi. And if I'm mispronouncing your name, please forgive me. I also have a foreign name, and so it is always fun to carry. Welcome.
Good afternoon, all. Hope everyone's doing well out there. My name is Ayo Adewumi. I am the Vice President of Autism Service for LifeWork, WRC. And I have the pleasure of having one of my colleagues here as well, Ms. LaShawn Brown, who is the HR Generalist for LifeWork. We are both here this afternoon to let you know a little about our industry and what we do and how this can be potentially a career path for you. LifeWork was founded over 50 years ago, and we have provided comprehensive services and support to people with intellectual disabilities and the autism and their families in Queens, Manhattan, Nassau County, and Suffolk County. Today, we support more than 2,000 people across our residential locations, day and community programs. Additional programs for both families and people with intellectual disabilities includes our home services, skills development, behavioral intervention, social recreation program, and vocational training opportunities. Our mission is to provide services that facilitate an independent and productive life experience for individuals with developmental disabilities, including intellectual disabilities and autism. We have 4 key values that the agency live by, which one is responsibility to one another, 2, high quality supports and services, 3, teamwork, we learn and grow together, and the last but not least, communication. We engage, we listen, and we share. 10 years ago, I started my career at LifeWork as a direct care counselor, which is basically an entry-level position. I started in Lindenhurst, New York, as a regular staff. Then, a few years went by, I was given the opportunity to oversee the program as a residential manager. I did that for about 2 years, and then I was also given the opportunity to serve as the director of residential, which I oversaw about 6 autism programs in Suffolk and in Nassau County as well. So after 6 years of hard work and dedication that I put in, I then had the privilege of becoming recently being promoted as the Vice President of Autism Services, which I oversee a couple of programs and also have a day program as well that we facilitate. So which I'm proud to say. Now I'll turn it over to Ms. LaShawn Brown.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is LaShawn Brown. I'm an HR journalist. I'd like to give it up to Aya. Today I'm going to touch a little bit on wellness. When I do orientations on Monday, and we introduce the program to a lot of our newer hires and employees, we talk about a plethora of benefits that we offer, which is medical and dental benefits. But one of the wonderful perks that we have at our company is we talk a lot about health and wellness. And we also give an incentive to, after your 90 days, you can get up $525. So that shows you that if you go to your annual physical, you do a Reliance training, which takes 5 minutes, which is a training program that we have at LifeWorks, and you go to any doctor of your choice, like the ophthalmologist or the dentist. That's a total of $250. If you buy a pair of sneakers, an Apple Watch or Fitbit, that's $100. If you also go and get a full body massage, you go to a gym and you work out, that is a total of $175. So while you're working out and being an employee with us, we promote good health and wellness. And you can also get $525. Also, another thing is, if you wear glasses, we have an eyewear reimbursement where you can get $50. So we promote that all of our employees, while you're working with us, that you go to the doctor, you get your annual physical, and we also train you on a lot of healthy ways to keep your life going as an employee. And at LifeWorks, I'm so proud to represent our company as a whole and make sure that all people get your annual checkups and your physicals on an annual basis and keep your health going. We want you to be here, and health is wealth. And thank you very much for inviting all of us here today from LifeWorks.
Thank you so much for sharing all of that, all those achievements, all those exciting moments with us. I can't wait to see what else you come up with next. So our next guest is Gary Anderson, a retired educator who dedicated 37 years to public education as a school psychologist. He's probably seen a few things. He's the founder of 3 nonprofit organizations focused on Read Aloud programs driven by his deep commitment to enhancing literacy and leaving a lasting positive influence on children, families, but also the community. Gary is happily married to his college sweetheart, Debbie, who we all love they call Portsmouth home. When he's not engaged with all district reads, his other great joy is spending quality time with his 13 beloved grandchildren, busy man. Ladies and gentlemen, Gary Emerson.
Well, it's great to be here at the Sustainable Developmental Goals. I love the topic wellness. I am a retired school psychologist, and I have literally worked with thousands of families over the 37 years. And a lot of times there's conflict in families. And when you get deeper and deeper into families, you find out there's a lot of times that there's so much conflict. So we developed a program, myself, I worked with a pediatrician in Richmond, Jeff Hansel, and we developed a program in public education to try to produce a wellness, a sense of wellness in the families. I'll tell you one quick story. I don't know if y'all can hear me. It's not that big. So two men were sitting on a riverbank, and a child comes floating downstream. They both jump in, save the child, bring the child to the shore. About the time they get back, here comes two more children. They jump in, rescue the children, they get back to the shore, and here comes 5 children going downstream. Help, help, help. One of them starts to jump in and go help. The other one starts off running upstream. Where are you going? Where are you going? I'm going upstream to tackle the man that's throwing these children in the river. That's what I did after 20 years as a school psychologist. I didn't physically go upstream, but virtually I went upstream and figured there's got to be a prevention. I was working with so many students that were falling through the cracks in public education. I found out that the front line of public education is in elementary schools. Oh, that's good. So, I don't know if I can click it, but so then I was started as a science teacher. Do I have a way to click that forward? Oh, okay. So, and then after 20 years of public education, somebody gave me a copy of the Read Aloud Handbook. I'd never heard of it. I'd never heard of the Read Aloud Handbook. And it basically says, and this is one of Penguin's top 100 books they've ever published. This is in the 8th edition. When I got involved, it was in the 4th edition. It basically says if you read a chapter of a novel, particularly a children's chapter novel, to elementary children, what you're doing is you're giving them a foundation of language and stories that will be a foundation for the rest of their education, the rest of their lives. So we found out upstream, this is the best technique. Reading chapter books to children, there's no shortcut. You have to take that time to read to them. And then when you read it aloud to them, you actually invested in them. You invested in them. So I got a hold of this, and I formed a nonprofit, and then I formed a national nonprofit called Read to Them. And we came up with the idea that we would give all the children in an elementary school, all of them, a copy, like 600 copies of this book. They would go home, and we would have somebody read it aloud, the first chapter to them. And then, this would be their book. We'd give it to them. The title is Give It to Them. So they would read the first chapter, and then when we get to school the next day, they have a trivia question activities. This goes on for the whole month. Children love it. There are no book reports. It's just fun for families. It creates a sense of wellness in the family. We spend $76 billion a year on public education. When you add this element to public education, family engagement and family involvement and in their home, not at school, they read this book. We also get a community champion that owns this in every community. And that means a Rotary Club, a Women's Club, a Lions Club, some kind of organization that is service oriented. And they take these books and they, I'm not sure. So they take these books and they give them out. I did this in my in the school system I was working at, and these were a third grade class, 2001, 2002, 2003, before we started this program. Once we started this program in 2004, before we had 5 out of 10 children pass the SOL, which is a state-administered passport. After we started, we added this element of family engagement around the story in their home. 8 out of 10 passed, and then now these are all Title I schools. Our bread and butter are urban districts where children are failing in big numbers and they're hitting that wall. Once you start this, and we give 2 books a year, we give it to them. Right this minute, where in Coastal and Southampton Roads, we have 4 school systems engaged in this. That's 55,000 elementary students and their families doing this. And it has a dramatic impact on, especially on families that don't have a literacy agenda. Our program, we raise in the community $11 per child per year. And once that $11, and we give them 2 free books a year, we raise that. And that has a significant impact. I got into this program because as a school psychologist, I was working with students, and then I'd work with them, and then I'd see them again 3 years later, and you had a window, because a lot of school psychologists has a unique window, that they evaluate them in the 1st grade, 4th grade, and the 7th grade, the same kids, the same students. And it was terrible. It was so disheartening to see them start falling out and quitting. You could tell it in their eyes, you could tell it in their voice, they weren't invested in their education. This program pulls them back in elementary school. Once you do 2 books a year, for $11 a child, it changes the trajectory, and it creates a sense of wellness in the home. Even though they're still going through crisis, the children drive the program. The reason I got into this is many of the students I worked with, I read about them in the paper, and they were in jail there, or they were in violence, and there's got to be some way to go upstream. We found out how to do it. Now to get school systems to institute this program, we have a number of school systems, but it's very easy to institute in any urban system because we do all of our training by Zoom now. Everybody does Zoom, right? We do all of our training by Zoom and work with the school system, but there is a shift. And so I love presenting in a wellness conference to the UN Sustained Developmental Goals. This is a goal, and we have it in Virginia, but it's spreading to other states, and we're excited about it. Thank you. Thank you.
So thanks for walking us through all of that. Super interesting. I can't wait to see more about this. So the next person I'm very excited to introduce, because just like me, I'm from the business side and realized that by being a philanthropist, there's a lot more impact. I was myself involved in an NGO this year, which was the very first time I came from the hardcore capitalist, VC, venture capital, finance world. And then when he realized that the impact was so much greater, he created Bedrock Credit America, a nonprofit organization dedicated and specialized in credit education and restoration, equipping communities with the knowledge they need to navigate the complexities of credit. They educate individuals about fundamental credit concepts and essential practices to help them chart a new path forward, offering personalized credit cleanup solutions with a mission to empower you to achieve the best possible credit standing, so you can finally have that peace of mind you need, earning a home and achieving wellness and good. So congratulations on creating such a wonderful NGO. We all need help for credit scores and managing our credit. So I welcome Stephen.
I think I'm not going to sit at the podium. I'm too excited for that. So am I loud enough? Yeah. Excellent. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I've had the pleasure and almost honor of knowing Raquel for many, many years. And I will always say she is tenacious and absolutely amazing. And I know she's only going to continue to progress from here as she continues to grow Bunchful. So I'm really excited about this. I'm really excited all of you are here. And I'm excited to be here. My name is Stephen Robert. I'm the CEO of Bedrock Credit America. And since 2007, we've been helping people understand financial literacy, specifically in the world of credit education. There's so much misinformation out there and misguided information that you can find through these websites. Our goal and our mission is to allow people to understand completely and truly how credit really works. Because let's be honest, what is our credit report? For those academics in the room, our credit report is our grown-up report card, right? How am I doing financially? How am I handling my debts? The payment history, right? What is it all about? Well, our goal is to go out there and explain to people how credit works because there's just not enough of that. And the reason that's so important is because if this isn't a situation of, I just don't understand it, but it's not going to impact me. Unfortunately, I can tell you story after story after story where people had misinformation and it absolutely destroyed their home, their wishes and their thoughts of owning a home. I'll give you an example. I had this happen a couple months ago. I had a client who called me and was somewhat perturbed and not really understanding what the process was, but the bottom line was she went to a free website, she pulled her credit, and it turned out she had a 702 score, in which she thought she would be good enough to be able to qualify. Well, then when she went into the bank and spoke with the bank, it turns out she really had a 645. Now, for those of you who might not be in the financial industry or in the mortgage industry, that is a drastic difference. Number one, in terms of your ability to be qualified, and number two, in your ability to be able to get the best interest rate. Simple understanding of just that there's differences between credit scores and FICO scores and what a mortgage company uses compared to what they give you as third parties. Another example of just misinformation. There was a client, this happened about 6 months ago, who called me who was furious because her credit had just dropped. What had happened was, and unfortunately this is where I also not only work with the individuals, but the people teaching the individuals, such as realtors and loan officers, right, mortgage professionals. There was an individual, she had 4 collections. She went to her bank, they pulled her credit, they said, okay, these 4 collections, just go ahead and get them paid, that'll take care of it. What that person, what that loan officer didn't understand was that by doing that, it updated the activity date and her score dropped about 80 points. What did that mean? It meant she went from around a 620 to below 580 and she wasn't able to qualify for her home purchase. Simply because of the lack of education as to how credit really works. So that is our goal and that is our mission with Bedrock Credit America, to be able to go out to the public, to be able to work with the people on the front lines, the mortgage brokers, the bankers, the realtors, to be able to get out directly to the clients through home buying seminars, through Rotary clubs, through educational platforms. I'm very excited to announce that Connecticut schools, as of fall of 2024, because I'm in Connecticut, I know I talk fast, it's because I used to work in the city, so. But Connecticut schools, as of fall of 2024, all students must take a financial education class in order to graduate high school. And that is absolutely it. You can clap for that. You can clap for that, but we don't want to stop there. We want to continue going. I think that should be a mandatory requirement for every high school student to have an understanding. Yeah, that's great, you know how to do algebra, but do you understand how to pay your bills? Right? The things they teach you, yeah, great, I know biology, right? I know what a cell can split into 2, but did you know that if you have a 30-day late payment, your score is going to drop 50 to 100 points? And that's going to change your ability to be qualified for the best type of financing and cost you thousands of dollars in high interest payments? Those are the type of things in a day-to-day profession we need to be able to teach our the youth of America, and not only the youth of America, everybody in America. So that is our goal with Bedrock Credit America. I'm not going to take any more of your time. I have a little slide thing here. I don't know where my, that's okay. But again, my name is Stephen Robert, bedrockcreditamerica.org. Please look into us. Please reach out if you're ever interested in having me come and speak at an event, whether it's virtual or in person. I'm all about allowing people to understand what credit's all about. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hello. I think Christelle must be stuck in the back for a moment. So thank you, Steve. Thank you for the I don't know, Steve has been. He actually started his journey in business, and then moved on to philanthropy, and created his business around philanthropy. Okay, let's see who is next here in our program. So we'll continue that for a moment. Let me ask the question of the audience. Has anyone before this program today, had anyone heard of or know what the UN SDGs are about? Yes, I see someone. Yes? Yes. Yes, you do? Okay, so tell us, what do you understand the SDGs to be?
From my understanding, it's pretty much the United Nations and that bettering the world on all levels. So they have different purposes, specific to from like food security to health wellness to like equal opportunity. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. Did everyone hear? Oh, we have another person in the back. Oh, I recognize Joseph. Joseph, tell us, what are the UN SDGs?
If I'm not mistaken, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals were, they first started working on them in 2013 and finalized in about 2015. And they are meant to be a suite of goals to better the planet and make it safer for all its inhabitants globally. So they used the notion of the United Nations united against specific goals to better the world and the population.
Okay. Oh, wow. We have a scholar here. Thank you, Joseph. Did everyone hear what Joseph said? Yes? Oh, yes, we have. Everyone heard what Joseph said? Yes? Yes. So the SDGs are, the meaning of SDG is Sustainable Development Goal. So the UN created these 17 Sustainable Development Goals as a way for us all to enjoy a better world. Now, each goal, you have some goal that is, food security, no hunger. The goals are really aspirational. We can imagine that in our lives, that, achieving housing for everyone. We met Steve before talking about access to housing. So achieving housing for everyone, it may not be really possible. But, you know, like it says in our, you know, it's the pursuit, right? This is something that we should all pursue. We should pursue food security for everyone. We should pursue housing for everyone. We can all work on this together. And so these 17 goals are what we have taken on at Bunchful as a mandate to ourselves. So when I founded Bunchful, I founded this organization as a means to really highlight those who give back. I don't know if some of you have heard or read my story, but when it started, I didn't know it started. All I knew, picture this, picture this, you're 5 or 6 years old, and every morning your grandmother's waking you up at 5 a.m. Because she has to go to the farm, and so all breakfast items have to be done. So your grandmother's waking up at 5 a.m. to take breakfast across the street. Now the street is actually a very small street. This is in Jamaica. This is in the countryside, the farm in Jamaica. Across the street is literally from here to the piano. That's right across the street. Why did she need me to go with her at 5 a.m.? Some mornings, this is what she did. Some mornings, she would throw cold water at me through the window because I would not wake up. And we have this bad every morning. And every morning, why can't you go by yourself? I would ask her. And she never would answer me. So I never had an answer to this question of giving. She was teaching me something so fundamental to what would shape my life. And I didn't know. I didn't know it at the time. I didn't understand it. I wanted to go to play. I wanted to sleep late. And here I am. And then one morning, when we found my uncle, and he had died. And later on, I don't think I ever told this to anyone. When my uncle died, found out he wasn't my uncle. And later on, found out he gifted his entire estate to my grandmother. And even later on, my grandmother took that estate and gifted it to someone else because we had a home, we had a house, we had food, we had a farm. And so those were the beginnings of my journey in philanthropy. But I felt at the time that I had a great job to do that I was afraid of. I was afraid of. I'm going to tell you the truth. I was afraid of today. Today in itself was its own journey, and I was afraid of today. Why? Because when our event had to be canceled and rescheduled, and our sponsor said, no, we can't be with you with this new date. And I said, I still have a journey. I still have the stories of all these givers to tell. And we have to shine a spotlight on you. But you'll hear more from me later. Crystal, sorry. Thank you. You'll hear more from me later. Thank you, everyone, and we'll continue with our programming.
Thank you, Raquel. That was very inspiring. So we kind of figured out a little bit of Awesome, Raquel. Thank you. We had a little bit of a changing program, hence some reshuffling, but I'm very excited to introduce the next speaker, who happens to be a women's basketball player, as well as a trained EMT, ambulance, paramedic, yes. And she actually co-founded an accredited Bible college with her husband, Bishop Randy Brown, and is dedicated to community service through women's conferences, food distribution, and evangelism. Her global outreach spans across the whole of Africa, and she oversees Bread of Life World Outreach Center, training others and promoting healing, as many need, and then known as a speaker, author, radio host, you name it, she's done it. Entrepreneur, wife, mother, grandmother, and a Food Network enthusiast. She's a confident, and she could win on Chopped, apparently. I am a terrible cook myself, so the true New Yorker who just eats out every day. So I'm very much admiring you for that. And I can't wait to come and eat at your house soon. So I will welcome Dr. Gail.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yes, I do love Chopped. That is one of my favorite shows to watch. And so I just want to say thank you to Raquel, listening to your story. Can we just put our hands together for her? I mean, I think all of the efforts and all that she has put together today has just been really great. So I am so grateful to be able to share a little bit of what is a very passionate area for me. As she said, I'm Dr. Neil Brown, and I pastor a church along with my husband, Bishop Randy Brown, and we've been married 45 years, and we have done 45 years of ministry in Africa and all over the world, China, all over the Caribbean, and I am so grateful to God for all of that. But I will tell you my story just for a hot second. In 1985, one day when I was just home, just kind of doing housework, I wasn't doing church work, housework, and I remember a scripture in John that came to me. And the scripture came to me out of John, the Bible, in John chapter 4. And there's a story there about a woman that was at a well. And this woman was very broken. This woman was very hurt. This woman had experienced rejection at all levels. In fact, the Bible says that when she sat at the well and met Jesus, he asked her about herself, and she says, well, I have no man. He says, you have said right, because you have been married 5 times, and the man you are now living with is yet not your husband. So there was a lot of brokenness. And in that moment, God spoke to me and said, set a platform for women, women that are broken, women that are hurting, women that are rejected. Set a platform for them where they can encounter validation, where they can encounter peace, where they can encounter safety, where they can encounter Jesus. And so that's what I did. I began to set a platform where women could come and feel useful, where women could come and feel loved, where they can come and feel accepted. I started doing conferences and bringing women together, renting out venues, reception halls, conference centers, and bringing women together where they would come and we would give them gifts. Every time they came, they got a gift, they got love, and they got acceptance. We went on to do different platforms where we focused in on certain things, women that had AIDS, or we focused in on women that were single moms. We focused in on women that were just released out of prison. Asking God, how can we love on them, how can we make them feel accepted, and how we can make them feel validated in their lives. One of the conferences that we had was on domestic violence, and we had women that were recipients of domestic violence. We had them come. And again, we loved on them because domestic violence was not just the physical pain of receiving this sort of situation in their homes, but it was the emotional brokenness of that woman. And so we would set a platform, we would bring them together, we would love on them, we would buy gifts for them, and celebrate them. This is what we have done, and we called it Woman's Encounter. And that meant woman's encounter with the presence of the Lord, teaching them how to get into the Bible, study and read it, and acquire the peace that they need to go through life. And that is what we have been doing. We have traveled all over Africa doing the same thing, bringing love to women, letting women know that they are validated, stretching our arms out and hugging them and loving them, because there are so many women that are broken and going through life. We have traveled to China, and we have done the same thing. Love on women, tell them you are necessary in the world, you are validated, and God loves you. One of the things that we did in closing, we had a woman that came that had been in a foster home. And all through her life, she had been in foster care. Her mother rejected her. She went to foster care. She went from foster home to foster home to foster home. Every home that she went, she never felt loved. She never felt accepted. She never felt validated.
broken from one level to the next level. We then took her into the Bible. We began to show her how she can find validation and peace and be calm through the Word of God. With that, she came to our church. When she came to our church, she shared with me the story. In all of those places that she went, she became more and more broken, and she began to eat. Eating became her form of addiction. And she was eating and eating and eating. When she came to our church, she was about 500 pounds. And when she came to our church, we loved on her. We let her know you are validated. We let her know that all those places of rejection had nothing to do with you as a person. And we gave her love. We did a celebration at one of our conferences, and we put a rhinestone crown on her head. We put a dress on her. We gave her gifts. All the ladies, one by one, came and gave her gifts. And we told her, today, you are a woman of worth. So you're going to ask me, well, what do I do in this that we call Women's Encounter? I set a platform. I set a platform where women could come without judgment and without criticism and be loved by Jesus and loved by other women that have stories where they have come through and now are able to stand with their head up high and be grateful that they are a woman. Amen? So that is what I do. Thank you so much for listening. And we will continue to set platforms all over the world for women that they will know that they are loved, they are validated, they are accepted, and Jesus, most of all, loves them better than anyone.
Thank you so much for everything that you do for women. Being one of them, I can tell you, I appreciate everything you do, especially for my fellow sisters, not as fortunate. So for the next person, superhero, may I call at this point, for over a decade, she has proudly served as the devoted spouse of the Cameroon permanent representative to the United Nations, contributing to diplomatic efforts and fostering international relations. In 2018, she joined the esteemed African Women Leaders Network, furthering her commitment to empowering women across the continent, and has assumed leadership roles, including serving as president of the International Club of Ambassadors Spouses Group at the UNTWC, a lot of acronyms, this is America, for 2 years, and heading the UN International Charity Bazaars for another 2 years. In addition to that, she led the UN African Spouses Group for a year and has been the president of the Foundation Tiani Suzanne for over 18 years. Her dedication extends to her role as a president of the United Nations African Mothers Association since 2016. And she has actively participated in so many charitable organizations, both in her home country and at the United Nations. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to bring you Mrs. Therese Thomas.
Dear host, speakers, dear awardees, dear participants, I'm really honored to be part of this great event, and then I'm grateful to be to the chairperson and the team from Bunchful for their kind invitation. I would like also to add my thoughts to the previous speakers in encouraging the support the UN SDGs and comment tonight share my experience of the philanthropy access to the process with you today. I want to share with you how I acquire and build up my feeling of generosity, of philanthropy, and of giving from my young age, even though I'm still young. Allow me to present myself in just a few words. I'm Teresumo Monte. I'm the spouse of the permanent representative of Cameroon to the United Nations. I'm member of the African Leader Association Network. I'm the former president of the African Ambassadors Spouse Group. I'm the former president of the United Nations International Bazaar for 2 years. I'm president of the International Women Group called UNGA. I'm the former chair of the International Charity Bazaar, president of the United Nations African Borders Association, UNGA, since 2016, and now the president of the Foundation of Charlie Suzanne, based in Cameroon. My story is like this. I was raised by my uncle. It's almost like that of the founded racket. We were in a small town named Benja, where I used to witness how my uncle was praying, was giving away things, we're serving, we're helping family, and non-family member as well. We used even to assist the children who reach the school age to get scholarized. Our table was all the time full of people from different backgrounds, regardless of their wealth. We were able to get from one another who was a family member and who was not. Nobody could distinguish who is his offspring and who is not. The rest of the children and adults in the house, you cannot distinguish them. We were all very happy being together. We were enjoying the storytelling. We were enjoying whatever we have at our disposal without discrimination, without any complaint. This is what we call happiness. Because we just have a little, but we can share it with a lot of joy, lots of peace, a lot of satisfaction. All this, I did treasure it when I was growing up in my heart, and then it's what planted me the seed to get early involved with the United Nations. This sentiment was further during my year at public school, high school, where the nuns taught us a good deal like giving provide more joy and happiness than anything else. Oh yes, I could realize it by saying how much satisfaction I got back after sharing some small but symbolic birthday gift among friends. So I conclude that generosity is a virtue, and that happiness should not be a selfish individual attitude, but rather a collective, global, and contagious attitude within humanity and the entire world. Hearing that in my adult life, I was totally inclined to assist, to do everything possible to put a smile on someone space, convinced that it's the only way to share my tangible love with people around me, especially those in their need. In so doing, I was sure to make a small difference, no matter how small, because my contribution, I was sure to make a difference, no matter how small. I will spare you the exciting detail of my career in the United Nations as headquarters and then in Cameroon, because I will have wrote a letter and then send it to you, of course. Let's just say that my childhood was one of the reasons why I joined the United Nations. In my retirement, I did not rest on my laurels and pursued my commitment with charity and philanthropic activities. Ironically, I feel much more fulfilled than in my active life as a civil servant. For instance, I have chaired the United Nations Charity Bazaar for 2 consecutive years. We were able to raise nearly $200,000 to assist people in hard conditions throughout the world. We were really thrilled with the outcome and mostly at the positive feedback received from the field. Because the beneficiaries, they were happy and then they could share their happiness with us. Even though I did not solve all the problem, at least we were able to alleviate the hardship problem by making a small potential difference in the daily life of those in their needs. In that same spirit, for nearly 15 years now, and before the COVID pandemic, COVID-19, I established in Cameroon a foundation called Philanthropy, which provides scholarship to more than 50 children yearly, going from nursery to graduate level. It has become a moral obligation and responsibility to raise funds by all means, to help boost the potential and provide access to knowledge to children who might become tomorrow's world sustainable leaders and saviors. I truly believe that in philosophy, that no child should be left behind. We should all do something. It's not too much. I'm sorry. Okay, give me one second.
I think you're taking the full stage because I have to introduce you.
Yeah. I'll go. Give me 2 more seconds. I'm finished. Thank you. I'm sorry. I have problem with my teeth. I'm sorry because my pronunciation is not good. I have some teeth.
It's totally fine.
So I'm trying to finish anyway. Give me 1 second. Okay. I was saying that in the other hand, I'm also chairing UNGA because it's a United Nations African Women Association, which focus into help improving the socio-economic condition of women and the well of children across the world, especially in Africa. I have prepared some short video. I don't know whether you wish to prove, but forget about that. So, okay, I said the video that the video was there to share the light of what I'm talking because I talk about the feedback. I wanted you to see how people are reacting. Okay, I believe that if each one and every one of us gathered here in this VIP room today decided to become a corporate ambassador in his own area, the sustainable development will be attained sooner than expected, the 2013. So I'm also positive that we will make a difference and leave a better world behind for the next generation. It is a matter of willingness, because to translate a French saying that says, vouloir c'est pouvoir, in other words, where there's a will, there's a way. So therefore, let's do effort and forth to attain our 17 goal. Together we can progress. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Vouloir c'est pouvoir, as we say. I happen to be half French, so there is a will, there is a way, for sure. I'm actually very humbled to introduce, obviously, her other half, which happens to be her husband, Bishop Randy Brown, who... Oh, no? Okay. I'm just following the program. Raquel, I need guidance. Okay.
Yes.
We good to go? Okay. So, sorry for like mismatching some people into the audience, you know, but it's 2023. Bishop Randy Brown, so who hails Kingston, Jamaica, has profoundly impacted lives and love and passion, like many in this audience. And together with Pastor Gil, who you met earlier, undertook missionary expeditions to Kenya and Nigeria. I have personally been to both countries myself. And leading the Bread of Life World Outreach Center in New York State. The bishop is committed to humanitarian endeavors, as well as medical clinic in Togo and orphanages in Togo, as well as Zimbabwe. And he is a distinguished author with his works archived in the United States National Library of Congress. And so he's been married since 1978, and the Browns have been blessed with 4 kids and 9 grandchildren. Very busy. I would like to welcome Bishop Randy Brown to the stage.
Good afternoon, good afternoon. This is a great pleasure being here, being with all these great individuals that are doing wonders around the world and across the United States of America. I'm very blessed and encouraged to meet all of them. You got to hear from my wife. When my wife put on her women's programs, you need to really be inside my house, because everything is in my house. Every gift that she's going to give to every woman at the conference is inside my house. And sometimes she had a conference one time, over 700 women. You know what was in my house? 700 wrapped gifts. Hallelujah. So we thank God. It's a good blessing. She's a wonderful woman. My wife and myself have been doing work together since 1978. We got married in 78 and immediately relocated to East Africa, Kenya in 1978, doing the work of God. We've been planting churches, setting up mission bases. We've built a Bible college in Zimbabwe. We've drilled wells. We've empowered the people, pushed the churches forward. In 1985, we actually started a base in Long Island, New York, in a little town called Wyandanch. And we're out there, we got a church going on out there. That church has released great leaders across the globe. We have over 100 pastors that have churches under us across the United States of America. Then we have over 1,000 pastors with churches in different regions of the world and Africa. We have 25 different church bases in the continent of Africa. 2 that I want to talk about very strongly is the Togo orphanage. We have an orphanage in Togo. Nearly 100 children, newborns to mid-teens. We feed them, clothe them, we send money every month to support them and take care of those children. Children are a wonderful blessing. I remember we went one year and we did construction on the orphanage. We rebuilt walls, we built bathrooms, we helped them with their water system. We did all kinds of things. While they were working, I would sit under the tree and drink cool water just to encourage them to keep working hard. My wife would help with the concrete work, and she would be there putting down bricks and such. But we were able to build up this orphanage. One of the most exciting things we did with this orphanage, we one day got a carpenter and had the carpenter build us 32 bunk beds so we could get the children off the floor. If you can imagine walking into an orphanage and every single child from newborn to teenage years sleep on the floor and the dirt in a corner somewhere, and we got the carpenter and he built for us 32 bunk beds. Got everybody up off the floors, mattresses, a wonderful blessing, wonderful blessing. Now, one of the big things we're working on right now is that we've got a church operation going on in the great country of Burkina Faso. In Burkina Faso, we've got 3 schools, and I'm waiting for more schools to be built. In Burkina Faso, if you don't pay, you don't go to school. But God has blessed us with a great man over there, and we put 3 schools in position right now. He's got 3 schools going on. You don't have to pay to go to school in those 3 schools. What we ended up doing, but it needed some work. We put fans in the school so they could cool down the school. If you go into those schools, those places are like an oven sometimes. So we put fans in all of these little school buildings. Then we fixed all the floors, because when you walked in, the floors were torn up, rubble and rock and stone. So we redid every floor in all 3 of the buildings, nice and smooth and put together. And then we put the lights inside, lights outside, so the children could see outside when they're playing, but also see better inside the school when they were doing their schoolwork. We have drilled wells. We have built buildings. We've been given some land in the last couple of years over in the country of Togo. We took in a medical container from the United States of America, 40 plus feet long, or yards long, 44 plus feet long, and filled with medical supplies. Took them into the nation and distributed it among the different hospitals that were in that region. Right now, one of the biggest things we're working on is for 2025. We're desiring to take the youth from our community. Our community is considered what you call a targeted community out here in Wyandanch, Long Island. And what we're doing, we want to take the youth from our church and our community into West Africa, Burkina Faso with us, so they can meet the children at the school over there, and they can see what's going on over there, and they can get an experience of Africa with me and my wife as we go over there to continue to try to empower, impact, push, and drive the lives of the people in good, wonderful directions. I want to say this in closing. I'm very grateful. You know, during the course of your life, some people never know what they're supposed to do. I realized what I was supposed to do at age 17. At age 17, I found out I was supposed to be traveling this planet and telling people about the love of God. And then God blessed me, and I was age 17 in 1975. I started traveling and doing that. But God blessed me even more in 1978 when I met that wonderful woman, and He blessed me to marry her. I met her 7 weeks later. I said, man, I love you. Will you marry me? And she said, yes, I will. And so I took off into Africa with her after knowing her for 7 weeks. What an exciting journey. It's not about just building the churches, Bible colleges, and such, but when I could see the lives of the children transformed, just giving them some type of an education, making it easy for them to get to school, making them be able to have situations change for the better in their life. Last thing I'll say, and I'll be seated. When we got involved with the schools in Burkina Faso and began to help with these 3 schools, and like I said, I believe there are more schools coming. Our first day in the school, we noticed there was one little girl being led around by her friend. She was led up and down and all over the place. And my wife said, what's going on? She's blind? Well, she has an injury to her eyes, and she's unable to see. But she wants to go to school. So they have her in the class, but she has to be led around by this little girl every day. My wife was so moved. When she got home, our church raised the money to help with all of the medical conditions for this young lady. She got certain medical conditions, taken care of by the doctors in Burkina Faso. They fixed up her eyes, and then we also made them get the right glasses. After the eyes got all cleared up with medication and treatment, we got her glasses. And they sent us pictures, and no one was leading her through school. She was just walking through the school, all by herself, going to her desk, doing her schoolwork. So I believe we have a right, and we have some responsibility to help the next generation. Anybody believe that? Just to give them a little push so they can do better. I want to thank you this afternoon. It's a great privilege being here with all you great men and all you great women that are doing great things here in the earth. Bless you.
Thank you so much for all that energy. So we're looking forward to having a quick break. We've had wonderful speakers so far, and just need a little bit of a break so you can stretch your legs and go for a walk. But before we do that, Bunchful wanted to introduce something to you, something exciting. The world's first digital business card that goes beyond having an email and phone number. It's the first digital business card to spread the word about how you give back to the community. So we have a little video.
This is PR about the work that you are doing. We want to show you as an example. We want to help lead through example, lead through this idea of giving, how we can share our abundance with others and shine the light on you. So for 2 weeks out of each month, we're going to be working with each of our speakers here, and we're going to put the money behind it and shine that light on you. So thank you. This is the Bunchful Awards. Okay, our next speaker. I don't have our program. Thank you. Great, thank you. Oh, okay.
All right, so no break, sorry guys. We're gonna actually have a very prominent speaker next. We have His Excellency Ambassador Guida with us, who just landed 2 days ago, actually coming from Paris, my home country, and he is with us to participate on this momentous occasion, and is a highly accomplished individual with a master's in public law and a diploma of specialized higher studies in public enterprise. And he basically has many degrees that are all listed on a piece of paper here, which I will skip. But he has also served as the Director of African Markets at the BBVA Bank and at the OECD. So he has contributed to the Ministry of Economy, Industry and Public Accounting in various capacities, and since 1996, he has been the founding president of Guida, an organization that dedicated to producing socioeconomic, political studies to promote investments in Africa and committed to fostering Africa's intelligent development. So he brings together expertise and know-how to create a brighter future for the continent. And personally, I can tell you that having launched an accelerator in Lagos last year, the innovation in Africa is only at its beginning, and I can tell you that many investors are eyeing that right now. So I'll let him tell you about his works that is rooted in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Thank you, welcome here. I'm very glad to be here. I advise every people here, my English is not English, it's Franglish. Okay, good luck. Mrs. Guest in your rank and quality, Madame the CEO of Bunchful, dear sister Raquel Miller, and Lady Anita from London. Sisters, I love you. I'm happy to be here before you at the invitation of Raquel and Bunchful. I love premiere, and I am sure that is premiere of Bunchful Award and the first Bunchful Philanthropy Summit will be etched in the world memory. If you are here, is because you are the leader of the world which is thinking about this future, and you all want to contribute to making the world a better place in a catastrophic geopolitical situation since COVID, and it is a war that we did not foresee. And workers did despair, suffering, misery, and social damage since COVID donation from company to help support action to reduce social advice poverty and misery in the world to fall by 36%, we must commit ourselves to support people in situations of exclusion and poverty, and to engage with them to fighting poverty. I have read many books, but the old war continues to reason in my head. The old war declared on days where people are condemned to live in poverty. Human rights are violated, and nothing to enforce them is a sacred duty. This is the speak from Joseph Wresinski, who worked to build the International Days for the Eradication of the Poverty in the UN. In 1992, the United Nations officially recognized October 18 as the International Day to fighting poverty. For years, these ideas of making my contribution to create a platform to help fight against the social divide was been running through my head, and when Amitra who spoke to me about her company Bunchful, I said to myself that I had to contribute my ideas, my experience to collaborate to positively change the world. Yes, it is something crazy to think you can do something to change the world, but even a small wind breeze can carry a drop of water on it big to put on the fire. And as we have had an interesting only 4 years in the world and manage where we can create a platform for monitoring in real time how the money of private corporation donor is spent and use it and the work with blockchain, we will do it with another system and personalized information tool where you will know where your donation is being spent. We have an unexpected only and partner the digital revolution, which is the push and it's the surprise that we must continue and do everything to be master or to artificial intelligence to validate change in the world by creating a tool to positive transformation in the world. How to flag against the social divide? Indeed, reducing the social divide requires adhering to certain conception on humanity. They as well involved, in particular, the restoration of orderliness. They assist fighting the generation divide of economical, cultural, technological, natural, etc. between young people and the elderly. Second, between the native population and the immigration population, thus the divide between rich and poor, or more conceptually between those are getting and those who are experiencing material difficulty. Fourth, that between graduates and those who are not. Fifth, that between those suffering from insecurity, violence, delinquency, and those who are exposed to it every day. Finally, sixth, that between those who are protected, starting civil, servant, public, and republic sectors, and those who have projected to produce in self-improved private sector. We must start in building new world for our children, for the happiness for all. I come from small country in Guinea, Conakry, in West Africa, very close to Ivory Coast. We must build the road to development and emergency. That is, I am launching an appeal here to a digital company, to all company in the sector to join us in your desire or to introduce into Africa or major company and digital specialists, also university and other company like that of Mr. Robert to train young people, African in finance, to meet the challenge of development and emergency. I am president of OPND. OPND is an African Observatory for the Digital Development. We have to make together the promotion to the digital sector in Africa to build the new Africa. I am president of the initiative for the SEPMA. SEPMA is the coalition for the eradication for the fake medicine in Africa. We fighting fake medicine in Africa. Almost every year, African kids died. Almost 40,000 people died for this case. We take this emergency to build our initiative, SEPMA, to control the medicine and the drug in Africa, to save the people. Gentlemen, and every invitation here, I'm very glad to speak to you. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you to listen to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, and you did a terrific job. I know that you did something all the time, so just an extra round of applause for expressing yourself. We do have 79 countries in this world that actually speak French. Fun fact. So, moving on to our next guest, I'd like to introduce you to Jill Budge, who serves as an investment director at Monsieur Invest, an impact investor empowering church-run ventures across sub-Saharan Africa. I have not met Jill personally yet, being in the same line of work, but I'm very excited too. And her experience working at Credit Suisse, as well as at Bain International and healthcare-focused private equity, as well as investment banking, provides a very strong foundation to her commitment to the SDGs, and Jill actively engages in non-profit work, especially serving as Vice President for ABECO, supporting a youth transition home in Haiti, as well as locally being the marketing chair for the New York Junior League's Steps to Success Committee, providing financial literacy and job skills training to marginalized groups, aligning with the SDGs that we've been speaking a lot about today, mostly aligned with the no poverty and quality of education. Please help me welcome Jill Budge.
Thank you for that introduction. It's a privilege to be here to discuss how philanthropy and impact investing can work together to address the sustainable development goals. So from an investor's perspective, I'd like to talk about what it means to invest sustainably. And to do that, I'd like to look at the what, the how, and the why of impact investing. So starting with the what, when selecting what projects to invest in, one of the most effective ways to target the highest impact projects is to use a bottoms-up rather than a top-down approach. This means giving communities the opportunity to originate ideas and appreciating the importance of locally driven solutions, and to an extent even letting the investee dictate where the investor focuses their attention. For example, as was mentioned, I spent the last 6.5 years at Missio Invest, where we provide patient capital loans and technical assistance to church-run enterprises across agriculture, healthcare, education, and financial inclusion in sub-Saharan Africa. And when we first started in 2017, we were focused strictly on investing in farms with the idea of improving food security across the continent. But within the first 3 to 4 years, we realized that these farms were co-located with schools and healthcare facilities, and often the social impact between the different enterprises was interrelated. For example, a farm might produce food to feed the children at the school or serve the patients at the hospital. And we noticed that these schools and hospitals needed capital for expansion as well. And for example, by providing a loan to a school, we could not only help it to educate more students and employ more teachers, but also the excess income could then support the farm and the borrower's other social activities. So in response to these investees' needs, we expanded into healthcare and education, which are now over 60% of our portfolio. For example, our largest investment to date is actually a sisters-run hospital in Ibadan, Nigeria, which used our $1.2 million loan to construct a maternity ward and diagnostic center and to purchase related equipment. And that facility is now the only private healthcare facility in the region with a working CT scan. So the lesson there is to be adaptable. As you may start with a specific idea, but you need to pivot in response to the investee's needs. So having looked at the what, moving on to the how of impact investing. It can take many forms, but one common theme is to invest in a way that's sustainable for both the investee and the investor. So for the investor, that just means generating a return that's sufficient enough to reinvest in new projects while also covering costs. But for the investee, this means setting achievable growth targets, being adaptable if plans change, and also providing accompanying technical assistance and business advisory to support investees in achieving their goals. At Missio Invest, we approach this by establishing loan repayment schedules in collaboration with our investees based on their projected cash flow, but also recognizing that in frontier markets, there are often unforeseen circumstances and projects may fall behind or have to change directions. So when that happens, we work together with them to develop solutions such as maybe just revising the repayment schedule or even issuing follow-on loan. For example, a few years ago, one of our ag borrowers in Nigeria came to us absolutely distraught because the local state government had demolished his recently constructed rice processing factory in order to pave the way for an airport. So we looked together with him at the demand for rice in the region and saw that the demand was strong, so we issued them a $40,000 follow-on loan to reconstruct the factory in a new location. And since then, the farm has been so successful that we actually requested a second follow-on loan for further expansion and are performing well above our expectations. But beyond just follow-on loans and kind of adapting the payment schedules, we realize that it's also paramount to provide investees with business advisory and technical assistance, both pre and post-investment. For us, many of our borrowers are first-time borrowers. This means that pre-investment, they need support to refine their business plan and marketing strategy. And post-investment, they may also need help with procurement and implementation. So for example, for that hospital loan that I mentioned in Nigeria, pre-investment, we sought the services of a U.S. health consultant, as well as a local Nigerian healthcare specialist, as well as a RADA, an international radiology nonprofit, to advise on facility design and negotiations with equipment providers. Post-investment, we then had a member of the RADA team visit the hospital to advise on staff training and equipment installation. And we also had our local consultant visit the hospital regularly to advise on staff retention as well as telemedicine in response to increasing doctor shortages. So this pre- and post-investment support is one way that impact investing and philanthropy can work together in addressing the sustainable development goals. The investors can provide the capital needed for expansion, while philanthropy can provide financing for that technical assistance and business advisory that is essential in helping investors succeed. So lastly, moving on to the why of impact investing. We realized that if the why is driven primarily by financial returns, then it can often be difficult to maintain the hurdle rate required to stay in the market. But if instead the why is driven by first solving social or environmental problems, and secondarily by necessary financial returns, then that creates more of an alignment between the investee and investor and fosters a sense of mutuality. So at Missio Invest, we seek to address investee needs, creating long-term sustainable impact in our target geographies. This means letting the investee drive where and how we invest so that we can work together with communities to create jobs, educate students, serve patients, and improve local food production. So for us, over the last 7 years, we've grown from 2 to 10 countries, expanded our sector focus, and issued $16 million in loans to 72 investees. We're happy to say that at the end of last year, our borrowers employed over 84,000 people, planted over 100,000 trees, and injected over $25 million into local economies. And beyond that direct level of impact, the religious institutions that we lend to also operate over 2,000 schools, over 200 healthcare facilities, and over 180 other social institutions that together serve over 5.6 million people. And lastly, we're particularly proud to say that over 64% of our investees are women-led enterprises, qualifying for the U.S. Development Finance Corporation's 2X initiative. So as we look ahead, we're looking to expand in healthcare and education and into new countries, particularly Francophone Africa, which I'm excited about, as well as enhancing our pre- and post-investment support, particularly remembering the why behind what we do. I know for me personally, the most rewarding part of my job is when I get to meet with project leaders who are doing the actual work and creating real impact. For example, last year we held a workshop for our women borrowers in Nairobi, and I had the chance to meet Sister Ijoma Okoye, the project leader for the healthcare facility loan I mentioned in Nigeria. And after months of email and Zoom calls, it was a privilege to see her smiling face as she spoke about new maternity ward and the equipment and what it was able to do for the patients in the region. And even better was seeing her speak about her experience with procurement and project management to the next generation of investees. And it was particularly that reminded me that as an investor, I'm really just a facilitator. So investors and philanthropy together can provide the capital and technical assistance needed to unlock the potential of growing and impactful enterprises. But it's really the impact investors, we can do well by being thoughtful about what, how, and why we invest, but even better by remembering that investees are the real ones.
Hi everyone, it's me again. So we are coming up to our next speaker shortly, but I thought I'd sprinkle in a little bit, a short video to tell you about how, really when I was really moved to begin this journey, this part of the Bunchful Award. It's just a very short video, and it really, I think when I first founded Bunchful, we were founded as a corporate gifting company. And we really just got decimated throughout during the pandemic. But in that moment, in those very small moments, that very quiet corner, I had a choice. I had a choice to make. And I decided at that moment that I was, when you're all the way down, and we've all been there, when you're all the way down, and you're sitting in your quiet corner in the dark, and you are wondering, okay, what do you do? There's no other place to go. And so that's when I decided that, though I had written what we're doing now with Bunchful into our business plan long ago, I realized this was the moment to act. So, thank you. I see I have a lot of our people are coming. Here we have Serena, David, Scott. Thank you guys thank you everyone for being here. Thank you. All right, so this is just a short video, a pause in our program to show you what I created in the moment of the pandemic. Our tech is sitting out of the country and managing all of this. So we have that. Ready? No? Okay. Maybe we'll come back to the video in a little while. Okay. Oh, here we go.
In the middle of this pandemic, a ray of light appeared and gave hope and help to those most affected. The Bunchful Project Arise is making this light even brighter. It is a new initiative which honors those who share their wealth and abundance with others. Therefore, we have created a recognition platform and affixed the Bunchful Seal of Generosity to those who donated over $1 million to COVID-19 relief efforts. They deserve to be recognized for sharing their abundance and generosity with the world. But there is more. We are aware that generosity comes in many forms. Therefore, we are now working on phase 2 of Bunchful in order to give access to all those eligible to showcase their philanthropy and generosity. Going forward, we will hold an annual award ceremony that recognizes outstanding persons and organizations whose actions and generous gifts have positively affected the lives of many. We believe in a world where we share our wealth, our abundance, and our gifts with others, and where every gift is connected to a story. Arise with us to make a difference in the world. And let's make that difference now. Be Bunchful.com. In the middle of this.
I just paused the video myself rather than. So there is something that I'm interjecting just ahead of our next speaker. There's something that I wanted to communicate fundamentally, is that while we are like David Javidan, he won't raise his hand, but David Javidan has played an immense role in what they're able to accomplish, and the work and your work. We have. I don't want to get off the tangent because I have a few people here that I really want to shine the spotlight on. But again, it's not just contained to this room. We are really getting this word out about the work that you are doing. All right, that's enough for me for now. And
Thanks for coming for this little video break. So for our next speaker, very exciting and very diverse background, similar to mine, and that's covered a few different fields. So Mr. Joseph Hamilton, he has over 25 years of consumer and luxury goods marketing experience. However, he is here to discuss his work as a fractional CMO at Mediation, which is in fact linking the legal field through technology and services. So very much of a 180 change in experience and direction, which I'm very much looking forward to hearing and following. And so we have the UN SDG 16 goal that is being addressed this way. So thank you for being here. And you have actually through enhancing access to justice for over 1.6 billion people. So the impact is truly real. Please help me welcome Mr. Joseph Hamilton.
So let's see, so far we've had a bishop, a basketball star, several business leaders, the First Lady of Cameroon, a multi-hyphenate, globally renowned expert. Talk about imposter syndrome. Like, I'm now here talking to you about, well, let's talk. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. That is a quote from Teddy Roosevelt's serialized autobiography from more than 100 years ago. And I think today it hits us with the same resonance, the same meaning, and the same admonishment as it did then. The title of his serialized autobiography, The Outlook. It's pretty apropos, right? Do what you can with what you have, where you are. Today as we gather to discuss the future of philanthropy, specifically as we reflect on ways to excite and evolve and extend the real impact that the UN SDGs can have globally, I want to offer you my own outlook about this group, the gift of technology. Now, before I go there, I want to tell you a short, true story and ask you to imagine a slightly different ending. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Ramanujan. Anyone know who Ramanujan is? So, Ramanujan was the Indian mathematician who dazzled Cambridge dons with his mathematical theorems. He actually advanced the field of mathematics. He actually ended up perplexing a lot of the people that were there to teach because they were overwhelmed by his mathematical capability. Ramanujan encountered math for the first time through a single basic textbook at age 10 after a truant and troubled childhood in India. By age 11, he had become a prodigy. By age 13, he had mastered trigonometry. By age 16, he was taking mathematics into an entirely new direction. He was, in effect, an Indian Einstein. Now, this was 1903, and ultimately, Ramanujan ended up in Oxford and Cambridge, and he taught those dons a few new tricks, quite literally. But I want you to imagine for a moment, Ramanujan is an 8-year-old boy living in India, and he encounters the internet. Now consider for 1 second the impact that access could ignite. Picture in your mind the possibilities we might enjoy today from such an encounter. In that imagining, in that picture you have in your mind, is the very gift of technology that I'm here to talk with you about today. Because like most things in life, technology is a double-edged sword. It is not an end by itself. It is a means to an end. And its use depends on the user's intention. But technology is not one gift, it's many. Not only does it afford us ways to engage and interact with far-flung people in need, but it unites us in a call to transcend borders, to transcend challenges, and to address universal challenges. In effect, it offers us a way to leave the world a better place than we found it. What better example can we be offered? In 2016, support for same-sex marriage was at a crescendo as the Supreme Court met to review DOMA. The Human Rights Campaign at the time changed its very familiar logo, the blue background with the yellow eagle sign. They changed it to pink and magenta. According to Facebook, that revised logo was the fastest and broadest adopted change on social media in history, replacing memes, photos, titles, headlines overnight. And Facebook called the Human Rights Campaign and asked them what they did. And the Human Rights Campaign said, we just simply changed our logo and handed it over to our constituents. They did all the work. Today, it still stands as the fastest online show of support ever recorded. I want you to think of the gift of technology like the ABCs. It's the way I categorize it in my mind. The way that Crystal introduced me, the first A is for access. There are more than 2 billion people in the world without access to justice. They have no way to get their wrongs righted or heard. There's more than double that number, 4 billion. That's more than half the world's population who lack access to basic health care. Now, Cubicall provides access to justice systems in remote areas. Telehealth services provide basic healthcare advice and counseling, as we've seen throughout the pandemic. And this gets into the UN Sustainable Goal number 3, right? This is all about access to healthcare. Technology is bridging the gaps between the lack of access to justice and the lack of access to healthcare. It's already happening. And believe it or not, folks, there are AI-trained programs that can scan your retina or listen to your voice and detect Alzheimer's years before its onset. Medical technology is a gift by itself. We're not there yet, but we're closer than we've ever been. B, belonging. According to the researchers at the Centers for Disease Control, loneliness kills more people every year than cigarettes. I am the son of a father who died from lung cancer. That statistic really stuck with me. Loneliness kills more people than cigarettes. Even if it's a digital connection, it's a connection. And there are people out there starving to connect. Technology offers them a bridge to do that, particularly if they are sick or confined or remote or in need. They have an ability to reach out and to be reached back to. C, creation. This is my favorite one. The businesses and revenue streams and forms of trade offered by 21st century technology are like a grand bazaar. You can find whatever you want from wherever you want it. You want an alpaca throw from the hills of Peru sewn by an indigenous person, you can find it. You can find one of the beautiful necklaces made in Cameroon by the hands of the people who actually make it. And you can buy it from them, and they will get the money for it. Creation. So you have access, belonging, and creation. These are the gifts of technology. Now, Raquel and the team from Bunchful tied all of this future of philanthropy discussion to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So I want to offer you for a moment an examination of just a few of them. We can't go through all 17. But I want to give you an example of how technology is actually rising to meet a few of these goals right now. Because we talked about health and well-being already. So the first two I'm going to tie together. The end of poverty and achieving gender equality. Successful technology doesn't just solve problems like a magic wand, right? It also promotes the inclusive development for traditionally excluded populations. It brings everyone in. So technology can be a very, very powerful tool for improving people's lives in developing areas, but too often technology projects fail, and Joelle can speak to this because she was sharing this with us earlier. They fail because there's a lack of understanding of the indigenous population and how they will use it. Here's what's important. You can't just have two guys in Silicon Valley develop something they think, ooh, this is going to really help people in, Mogadishu, and then fly it over with a drone and drop it in and expect it, hey, it's going to work. That's not the way this happens. Technology that is going to work is deployed in tandem with, developed in cooperation with the people who will use it. So, one of the ways that TechnoServe measures, they put up 3 key factors to the success of any technology to solve poverty or achieve any level of gender equality. And that is to set concrete targets for inclusivity and to measure against them. Joelle, I was so heartened to hear because according to TechnoServe, they want to see at least 40% of the entrepreneurs in any business project would be women. And you said yours are up to 60%. That's very, very encouraging. The second TechnoServe measure that TechnoServe offers us is to use technology for international development alongside local partners. Now, Bishop Brown and Dr. Brown, I think you can probably speak to this. Prioritizing local participation. It's not just dropping things in, it's asking the people what they need and then giving it to them. Developing the technology to meet that need where they are. Finally, the other UN SDG is providing quality education. And I want to thank Gary for his input earlier about the very specific examples you were giving in terms of how to incorporate reading, chapter reading, and involving children and families in that. So here's what's exciting about providing quality education as a UN SDG. E-learning platforms provide access to training and advisory services online, anywhere, anytime, even in the most deeply remote areas, not necessarily with a human connection. Originally, we needed missionaries to do this. Now we just need Zoom. Imagine the lower cost, the higher yield, the bigger impact. E-learning platforms help those in developing countries access tools, information, resources. It helps them access the knowledge and the knowledgeable, meaning the actual people and sources that they can learn from. The pandemic was proving ground. Now we know that this works. So it's a question of proliferation. The last example we'll explore together is ending world hunger. Did you know that satellite drones can provide essential information to small farms to improve their yields and boost their outcomes? No matter where in the world. It doesn't matter if we're talking about Latin America, Africa, China, anywhere. But small farmers in sub-Saharan Africa often suffer from low agricultural yields because they don't have access to the same technologies that farmers do in more established areas. Geospatial technology, including satellites and drones, provide data to help target services for these small farmers, improving their yields and their outcomes, and to Joelle's earlier point, connecting that to the local ecosystem for education and food. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. This quote inspires us to think beyond limitations and challenges. In fact, it inspires us to look at the possibilities inside the limitations. What you have today, ladies and gentlemen, is an array of technological opportunities to help meet the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And I would like to thank Raquel and the Bunchful team for this opportunity to unwrap my own outlook on how technology can provide us a gift towards these goals. And I want to say a word to my fellow speakers about how inspirational all of your work really is. What you do is so valuable. My contribution is to help us understand what each and every one of us can do. Echoing back to what Raquel said earlier, perfection is not the goal. Persistence is absolutely the goal. So I'm here inviting you to persistently use the technology at your hands to help those who could be further developed, grown, helped, and assisted by something as simple as an app on your phone. Thank you very much.
So we're having a lot of fun with our program changes today, but I'd like to welcome our very esteemed Lady Anita Duckworth-Bradshaw. She has joined us this week from out of town, and she has been with 14 years of experience in global leadership support through the Powerhouse Global Magazine, global conferences, retreats, and leadership award events. She's very much committed to enhancing global visibility of leaders, just like many of you in the room. And she draws inspiration from visionaries like Dr. Wayne Dyer, Jim Rohn, Napoleon Hill, and many more. She has 300 personal quotes, published books, very, very accomplished lady right here, and so help me welcome Lady Anita.
I haven't just come from out of town, I have been from London to be here. So may I request for us to just stand up a little bit as church? So how it goes, church.
Thank you so much for having me. Please to take a seat. I just wanted us to just try to it's a privilege opportunity for me to grace this platform today to share the little wisdom that I have. And also, I just want to thank everyone that graced this day. Bishop Brown, and every one of you. And dear Raquel, what an honor to have such beautiful event. I love you for what you do, for what you're doing, and I thank you for not giving up on yourself, for choosing to stay on your lane and then carry more people along in order to achieve the goal that you set out to make the world a better place. Let's give a round of applause for this beautiful opportunity for us. I'm Lady Anita Duckworth-Bradshaw, and I'm a privileged servant that carries the global ambassadorial position as a Powerhouse brand propagator. Powerhouse has been going on for about 15 years now, and what we do is actually to create global for leaders to showcase their brilliance, and hence the connection with the ambassador and Raquel and all of us. Because I believe, just like Jim Rohn said, each of us needs all of us, and all of us need each of us. Hence, we are all
lives around the world. I'm a Nigerian by birth, British by marriage. So I count myself as a global citizen, doing what I've been called to do, and creating opportunities for other people to shine. I won't stress more what my organization does, but I'm here to talk about each and every one of us, what we represent as philanthropists, as givers. The world needs us now more than ever. I don't know if you can feel the shift in the atmosphere, that everyone matters. Our voices, our contributions count. This is a time for us to keep consciously making those impacts that will outlive us as leaders. And I keep smiling when I hear about Nigeria and the work that is being done. Thank you, everyone. Joe, thank you so very much. You see, for the fact that we are all to fill spaces in the world, it's not for everyone. There are chosen people. I've been talking to you about that every opportunity you find to create an impact in the life of someone, no matter how little, let me tell you, that will outlive you. The power of giving is not about how much we have in the bank account, but the opportunity we create for other people. The voices we give to the voiceless, the light we shine for those in darkness. The voice of suicide, I know that you hear more of this. The question is, let's sustain development, wellness and well-being, all of that. What is our role as leaders? Our role is to create opportunities for someone to break the pain, for someone to hope against someone, to know that there is light, no matter how dark it is. The power of giving goes beyond just monetary value, but it's just remembering someone. We talked about the power of internet, the belonging, that really hits me. You see, it can be very valuable. Most of you are. And I believe that it is our duty as leaders to find a more practical and simple way to help each other rise above the challenges that we face as leaders. Emotional trauma. Talk about wellness. The pain is real. I happen to have experienced depression. That was 2016, and I'll tell you something. During that time when I was at the lowest of my low, I actually formed a charity organization in Nigeria where I support children and women from less background. I was hurting, but I never forgot my purpose as a leader, meaning that it is not easy to hold space for yourself and for others. That means we all need each other. That is the message I want to bring to the room today. As leaders in this room and out there, let us make room for each other. Let us find ways to create more opportunities for us to shine and keep growing and keep serving the world. The power of giving is not just those who are lacking that need support. We also need support. Like you say, you cannot pour from an empty cup. Some leaders are actually running an empty cup. So you might want to look around in your organization or in your community. Identify leaders that need a little bit of support, that need more light to be heard. The loneliness at the top is real, going massive, because practically serving the line of duty. The power of giving. As I stand here, my precious dad is actually in the mortuary and being a victim of this kind of thing. But I still have to serve, because I understand that in line of duty, we don't make excuses. We have to keep serving. But the question is, giving is living. You know, most of us who are role models to the younger generation, we don't really tell them the journey, the painful ones to go through. We just tell them, oh, this is how we arrived here. But listen, they are waiting for us to tell them the truth, the pain, the depression that I experienced. That is the fuel of encouragement that they need. Let us start using our experiences to give hope to others, not just those down there, but also those lower level and those above us. We all need each other, the power of giving. After today, I want you to take time out to think, who are the people in my network that actually need my support, that need more light in their path, that need their voice. I founded Our House Building magazine 5 years ago. We have been privileged to feature about 2 presidents of nations, top CEOs of organizations, and also aspiring leaders. But I tell you something, someone gave me an opportunity to make that dream a reality. It was a struggle. The funds were very low. But I had a burning desire to make that a reality. What if that person never said yes to me amongst over hundreds of them? Even though I'm a standing leader, I needed someone to say yes to me and believe in my president. And that person will always live in my heart. The power of giving goes beyond just one to the other. I want us to take that. Be the reason for someone else's smile. Be the reason for someone like me to fly from London to New York to serve. Be the hope for another leader so that they can perform higher than what they have been doing before they met you. Because when we are long gone, people will only remember us for the opportunities we create. The hope of it. I see you, I hear you, I feel you. You give to them. That is what I want us to always remember. As leaders, we have an opportunity to look at each other. Now, whether it's prayer, whether it's a call, whether it's just mentioning them in a room filled with opportunity. And I want to leave this verse. Remember, you are the opportunity someone is seeking to find. So be yourself as a leader. And don't stop giving your time, your energy, your money, and creating opportunities for others. And I want to give something to us. For those of you who would love to be featured in Our House Building magazine, it will be my honor to do that. Because what I do is actually to create the world. So thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience and your wisdom with us. So, please welcome our next guest, Dr. Jonathan Beck. He's a renowned plastic surgeon who specializes in microsurgery, emphasizing breast and body contouring, breast reconstruction, and lymphedema reversal. A whole bunch of words are difficult to say. His expertise extends to sensory restoration of reconstructed breasts and cosmetic surgery. And he has training in Tel Aviv University, Chicago, as well as Pennsylvania. And all of that basically is a lot of medical background that I can't always just pronounce, frankly. But thank you for being here with us and telling us your story.
minutes of your time for me to talk about a little bit longer of a journey of mine. Thank you, Raquel, for allowing me to be a part of your life and to allow to share what we do, which is plastic surgery or reconstructive plastic surgery that started over 100 years ago as a discipline. I would say that many beautiful things often come from very dark places, and plastic surgery, which now has developed into all kinds of aspects of beauty, really started in a very dark place, really in the aftermath of the First World War, where trench wars rendered people with injuries of the head and neck that needed to be reconstructed. So the surgeons back in the day, in the beginning of the 20th century, coined this discipline, plastic surgery, and began performing reconstructions, the applications of which are now extending in all different directions. As part of my introduction, it was mentioned that I am a graduate. One of my alma maters was the University of Pennsylvania. The program in plastic surgery was founded in 1921, and this was its emblem. So you can see the sword, the scalpel and the brush, and it really talks about combining the art of plastic surgery. So during that time, in 2014-15, we performed many types of breast reconstruction, and we studied them. This was one type of study that we did, looking at 2 different types of reconstructions, and that are similar but have different advantages. We saw that one particular type, called SIA flap, had a much higher rate of, can I pause this somehow? All right, so, I'm just gonna go back. As part of the mission of the university, we studied our outcomes, and comparing 2 different types of reconstruction, one had different advantages to another that may put a patient at lesser risk, but had a higher issue with failure rate, or what we call flat take-back rate, having to revise them, even up to 14-fold. And a couple years after we published this article, there was a patient that I operated on, and the reality in her case was a dark place for me. This is the patient I operated on. Her name was Katika. And
when the bowl is broken into
she
pans,
introduced me to this
it's
concept.
put back together with the cracks being filled with gold, creating a beautiful lining. This is to emphasize the beauty in what was once broken. They believe that when something has suffered damage and has a history, it makes it more beautiful. And the same goes for human beings.
So we translate this concept of scars of breast reconstruction and the difficulties that she had going through her reconstruction into a beautiful project that we reconstructed. We took 16 women from my practice of all ages, backgrounds, and created this project.
I received an email on how gold is used in Japan to kind of make the cracks of a person beautiful.
I felt broken. I felt like I was shattered in many different little pieces.
Being reconstructed means that I can help someone with my story.
It's like, why this happened to me is to help other people get through it.
If you don't go through some hardship, there's a certain complacency. And after this, I think, every moment counts.
No more pain. No more pain. No more pain.
We have been reconstructed.
So we basically took this concept of kintsugi that really celebrates the beauty in overcoming adversity and taking these scars, painting them in gold, and then just taking them to different directions and different dimensions where the artists and the women brought to this. We presented it in a gallery city back in the city back in 2018, and I was able to touch people in ways that I never thought I could. I always say I went into medicine because I never thought I could change the world, but maybe we can change the day of one person at a time. And this sort of philosophy enabled us to touch people in ways I never even thought possible. It was displayed in other parts of the world, and it was a part of New York Fashion Week, so all of a sudden we're dabbling in all these things that really helped me practice medicine in a dimension that I never even thought possible, really encouraging women, empowering women in ways that go beyond my physical act of repair and restoration. And it brought on all kinds of other tentacles. This is a project called Reconstructed, Deconstructed. People ask me, how do you do these operations? So using the same artistic direction, we basically created a series of video animations that I show my patients to show them how these operations that they're about to go through occur in a way that's not distracting, cold, and clinical. So at this point, I'm much more interested on the brush side of things and the artistic side of what we do in plastic surgery. This is the second project I did with one of my partners, Dr. Ron Israeli, where we cast women in different stages of their reconstruction using silicone and then creating essentially negatives or molds of their body, their torso. And then we cast them in different materials corresponding to each one of these women's personalities, again, ranging in age, walk of life, background, types of reconstruction, personalities. And with the same photographer that I worked with to create that first project, we created another one called Restored. And again, really here the goal not was to show the scars, but to show the little differences in form, to celebrate, not hiding them, to really show the differences for the changes that occur in a body that's undergoing such a big change. Not trying to hide any imperfection, but to celebrate them and to show that even with our differences, we can still be beautiful, maybe even more so because of what we went through. These are all women that underwent mastectomies for breast cancer or for prevention. And it was another way to show other women facing these things that maybe we can approach this without the dire doom and gloom that many women feel when they're approaching these diagnoses and facing the hard decisions on what to do to approach them. So that's a big challenge in just helping a woman through this really difficult period and showing that there really is a light at the end of the tunnel, and they are really part of our art of practicing medicine. Again, that one particular sculpture we showed with her holding her arm, she actually had a wound at the time of our sculpting, and I couldn't fully put the silicone all over her, so I needed her to cover the wound with her arm, and to me that ended up being the most interesting, beautiful sculpture of them all. And again, from a dark place, in her case, we came up with a beautiful expression of that situation. So again, this was displayed as a fundraiser, as all these projects have been, in order to both increase awareness for breast cancer, but also raise funds to fund research. And again, we converted this into these animations.
To the chest. Here we took a little bit more than half of her belly, we reconstructed her right breast, connecting the blood vessels, and in the second stage, recreating the nipple in the areola, and reducing the left breast in order to match the reconstructed right one.
So again, a series of educational videos done with some kind of artistic twist.
She's part of the Restored project, showing how strong and proud and beautiful she is, despite the rough road that she went through. Despite the rough road that she went through. And she really brings a smile to my face anytime I see her.
That was Victoria. So, at this this point, the whole side of how do we mesh art and surgery is becoming much more interesting to me. And what does that interspace mean beyond just creating the form? So I always talk about types of breast reconstruction, is what we call an immediate reconstruction, when we, at the time of the mastectomy, the breasts are recreated either using implants or the body's natural tissue, in this case from the lower belly. In this case, it was a delayed deep reconstruction. So she had a mastectomy, decided to have no reconstruction, and then we did the reconstruction with tissue from her belly. Then I cut away the whole torso, and I focus on what really matters. And we look at the difference here between the before and the after for her, taking a sad face and turning that upside down. So another project that we undertook is called Before the After, where we took little snippets of pictures that I accidentally took when I was taking my before and after shots in preparation for surgery, but then crop everything and shows what really matters. And these little expressions of emotion are, to me, what really matters at the end of the day, beyond the technical aspects of the surgeries that we performed. So I never thought that in these stilted pictures, standing straight and kind of not very humane, we get these little glimpses of what it does mean to be human and to undergo these kinds of operations. We had a little exhibit of that in the city as well.
Look at the photographs that we accidentally took and go back to that moment that you were sitting or standing in that awkward photo room. Think back at the before, now look at the after pictures, and write whatever you want. You know, those words will speak much louder than I ever could. Those are that were in those places. These are people, they're women, they're mothers, they're sisters, their daughters, their spouses. These pictures capture a fleeting moment and crystallize it further.
So we basically asked them to...
That's the modest impact that I want to make.
Asked them to write about how they felt looking at these pictures and create a little book, which is the content of this. And then, of course, there's maybe go back on that for a second, if we can. One of the women in the book was pregnant, and then a couple years later had a little baby, and then all the proceeds from that book went to the American Cancer Society. So fast forward a year or two as the seasons change, so does my care for the flowers that end up on me and on the threshold of the windows in my office, and they were the inspiration for this project I recently completed, where there was a series of orchids that at some point I neglected to water, and the petals shed, and I left the sticks there, which are still a beautiful structure, but I leave them more as a reminder to me to try to nurture those little buds, and if we do, if you point them to the sun and care for them as we do for our patients and remind them to seek care, maybe a beautiful thing can blossom from that. And that was the idea behind something called Reblossom, our recent project.
Reblossom. It means the beauty of not being perfect, the beauty of rebirth.
These women actually, well, the flowers, to show the similarity between humans.
This idea that you are more than your diagnosis, you're more than your surgery, you're more than your breasts.
So, to show the similarities between all creatures on Earth, whether it be flowers or humans, I wanted to show the inner veins of them.
You grow, you have leaves, you have stems, you have flowers, and they blossom, and you see these beautiful leaves, and it also has to decay, it has to be destroyed, and then it rejuvenates.
So to really show the insides, how flowers are similar to humans, trying to figure out a way how to look inside a flower, and we thought maybe getting x-rays of flowers.
It gives life, it gives
having is reborn again, and you admire it. It's the same thing that happened to us. We were in the middle of a very sad situation, and we are reborn to be beautiful and let other people see that beauty.
So it turns out that the best X-ray for a flower, a very delicate object like a flower.
That when you're starting out on a journey like this, there's nothing but fear and darkness. If this project can shine a light for anybody, even in that darkest time, it's really, really important. Because at that time, when you're first starting, you need any light that you can get.
So the best X-ray for a flower turns out to be a mammogram. So these flowers had mammograms, just like the women that they're coupled with.
A reason to fight, because it's more to life. Life is worth fighting for. I hope the blossom will achieve happiness and strength and braveness and just a sense of hope to women who may feel that they're not as beautiful anymore, or they're going through this journey alone, that they're not alone.
So the flowers had mammograms, just like the women.
Sharing
Mammograms
your
that save
cancer
lives.
journey with other people can sometimes literally save lives.
A diagnosis of something is not a death sentence. I came out of these things a better person. I'm seeing the world a little bit bigger.
Through this process, I had to go through a lot of ups and downs, and in the end result, I'm happy with my imperfections, and I'm happy where I am now more than I ever was. I don't think there was ever a piecing myself back together. I don't see myself as ever being broken, but I did find more love for myself and my body.
You got a life after that, you still can be beautiful after. That doesn't negate now your woman.
My hope is that women who've gone through or are just, maybe embarking on this journey, that they can find themselves somewhere in their stories and give them courage to just keep moving forward and understanding that, we really are in this together. The best advice that I can give is to do what feels right for you and to not allow fear to make your decisions.
So we do these projects not to just express ourselves
Do what's
artistically.
right, and you just do it. Just do it. Don't be afraid. Just to make your thing that fits last week. Don't be afraid.
But to spread encouragement to people that we may not touch in other ways. And as I'm looking at this and listening to these women express
I may
themselves,
have 10 chapters or 50 chapters, but I'm going to write them all. And at the same time, I'm going to make sure that I cherish all of the relationships with the people who are like your stairway to achieving those goals.
I think teaming up with these women and giving them the platform to express themselves, to spread the word.
A piece of advice that I could offer someone in the beginning of this process is to surround yourself with those closest to you that you trust the most, that will continue to feed you with positive feedback, hope, and successful outcomes.
So I think like many people in this room, maybe we're changing more than one life at a time. And we're doing it in
Like,
ways.
let's look at the positive part of this.
not going to define us in this negative way. We're going to take it, we're going to roll with it, we're going to, embrace it and be joyful.
Doing it in ways that we may never even expected. So my main encouragement here is to number one, get your mammograms, and just open yourself to collaboration with other people, because beautiful collaborations can happen in ways that you wouldn't expect at least. So open your hearts, as you all do. Thank you.
Thank you so much for presenting all the great work. I will be very brief in this one because our beloved host, Raquel, has asked to make a very special introduction for the next guest. So I will be welcoming Raquel on the theme of, if I may tease a little bit, some small movements. So Raquel, welcome to the stage.
Exactly, health and well-being. And actually, SDG number 3, good health and well-being. I actually met Dr. Jonathan Beck through my own journey through cancer recovery. And it wasn't the medical work that he provided. It wasn't the medical prep. It wasn't just the, okay, cut here, don't cut there. There was a certain level of care that he provided. I actually told one day, it was a very rough day, and I mentioned to Dr. Bank, I said, I don't know if I can make it through today without my poetry, and I haven't been able to read my poetry for a long time, because it was in those moments of, when we're recovering from something traumatic that has gone through our bodies. And Dr. Jonathan Beck got out his trusty AI tool and wrote a poem for me, which I don't have it right now. Maybe we'll recite it to you later. So thank you again, Dr. Jonathan Beck, for the amazing work that you are doing, the mental health work that you are providing along with your surgical care. Women everywhere salute you, and I salute you. Our next guest speaker is actually, we're continuing on that line of good health and well-being. I talked about the reason we founded the Bunchful organization, to shine the spotlight on the good that you do, to shine the spotlight on the good that your neighbor does, to shine the spotlight on the good that the business around the corner, that the corner shop does, that all of us are doing to help each other. That's why we are here today. And we are, you know that line from Shakespeare, we few, we happy few. Yes, we are these few. We are the happy few. And we are going to shine the light brightly, brighter than this room, brighter than this space, brighter than this stage. And so, I am honored, with great honor, introduce to you Dr. Susan Pileshi. But Dr. Pileshi, before you come here, I want to tell another part of the story. So, I mentioned that I went through cancer care and recovery. I was diagnosed with cancer. And the reason why this had such a profound impact on me, because my beloved grandmother died from breast cancer. And it was a horrible death. Her face still sits with me today. When I got my papers here in New York, and my grandmother had been laying in her bed, sickly. She hadn't talked to anyone for a really long time. For months, she hadn't talked to anyone. And just within 2 weeks, I actually miraculously got my papers from the immigration. And so I ran to Jamaica. And I ran to our little farming town in Jamaica. And there she was, laid on her bed. My grandmother is about 6 feet tall and weighed at that time maybe 70 pounds. And so when I got to her bed and I saw her, and she hadn't spoken for many, many months. No one could get her to speak, they couldn't get her to eat or anything. And so when I saw her there, that woman, a husk, a hull of a woman whom I used to know, that image stays with me. So when I heard that I had cancer, I went to see Dr. Flushing. I almost didn't go. I was in Flushing that day. I was interviewing doctors. I was like, who's going to be the next doctor? I was interviewing doctors. And I was rushing around. And something in me said, you have to go to meet Dr. Flushing. So I ran, I made it to the Long Island Railroad. I was in Flushing, made it to the Long Island Railroad just in time. I got there about 2 hours past my appointment time. And Dr. Peleshi's, she told her assistant, no, I will see her. And so at 6 o'clock that night, I sat down with Dr. Peleshi, and we went over my diagnosis, and we talked about what my treatment was going to be, and what the outcome, what the journey was going to be. And Dr. Peleshi, she took out a very big book, and she started going through it, page by page by page. And as I looked through, and I was scared, because remember, my grandmother died from breast cancer, and her image is what still resides with me. And I'm looking at these pages of women who had overcome, and some of whom Dr. Peleshi had helped. And when I looked at those pages and those stories, I knew that I was in the right hands. I knew that I was in a caretaker's hand who wasn't just there to perform my surgery, but also to help me to provide a certain amount of solace and knowledge. I felt immediately that I was in the right hands. So when I could not get my insurance to cover my surgery, Dr. Peleshi, I was getting no's from my insurance. No's, I'm on the phone days and weeks, we're just getting no's. And then one day, I got a yes from, Dr. Peleshi's office called me. We were all scheduled. She said, oh, well, I guess the insurance, I guess my insurance, covered this treatment. And I went, happily to my surgery. Actually, I took both Dr. Beck and Dr. Peleshi as part of that team, and I knew I was in good hands. It wasn't until maybe a couple months ago, that I learned that actually my insurance did not cover my surgery for Dr. Peleshi. And she actually performed this service for me. And she continued to perform a service to me many months after. This is the kind of generosity that there is no, I give you this so you can give me that. That is not what generosity is. You give. The act of giving is itself the reward. The act of giving is the action that we need you to reach down and pull it out and show it, shine it to the world, show it to everyone, and so that they can mirror your example. Dr. Peleshi, I cannot pay you back. I will not pay
welcome to the stage Dr. Susan.
Wow, those are two very tough presentations to follow. So Raquel has asked me to speak today about why I chose my field, what brought me there, and what keeps me there. And thank you, Raquel, for the privilege of participating in this wonderful summit today. As she mentioned, I'm a breast surgeon. I have a practicing Great Neck, and I'm the director of breast surgery at Lincoin Hospital. And I do have the esteemed privilege of working with Dr. Bank, and thank you, Dr. Bank, for your beautiful work and your beautiful presentation, and all you do for our wonderful patients. I grew up on Long Island as the third child of 4 to my loving parents, William and Janice. We grew up with humble means, and we often struggled financially, but we had abundance of love. My parents emphasized the importance of family, community, and education. I knew from a relatively young age that I wanted to become a physician. I always loved science, and more than that, I felt a calling to help others. I went to college and earned a degree in biology, then went on to medical school here in New York, and completed an internship and residency in Boston. In 1999, I graduated from my surgical residency and took a position as an attending in general surgery at North Shore University Hospital in Manhasset. As a new attending in general surgery, I loved what I did. Surgeons love being surgeons because we are trained to take care of sick people who make patients better through healing that starts with an incision with a knife. It seems ironic at times. We need to cut to heal. There is power in that, a power in healing that often seems surreal when I take a step back to consider the privilege that I have been given. As much as I enjoyed taking care of patients in the field of general surgery, I soon discovered that there was a disconnect. A large part of why I went into medicine was not only to help people, but to connect meaningfully with people and develop long-term relationships. As a surgeon who performed general surgeries at that time, I was grateful to have helped these patients, but once they recovered, they moved on from our once intense relationship. After their initial recovery, I would only hope that they did not need to come back to me, because if they did, then that meant they had post-operative concerns. My practice soon evolved into the field of breast surgery. I appreciated the complexity of the disease processes and the delicate intricacies of performing breast surgery. But most of all, I was drawn to breast surgery for the ability to guide patients through the emotional and psychological challenges that they encounter when they are faced with abnormal breast imaging or a new breast mass, or the fear that they may be diagnosed with breast cancer, or for some, unfortunately, who are indeed diagnosed with breast cancer. I admire their steadfast courage, determination, and resilience. I remember several years ago, once I transitioned to my practice of breast surgery, attending the uplifting event for breast cancer patients sponsored by the New York Breast Reconstructive and Aesthetic Plastic Surgery Associates, or NYBRA. The night was a celebration of breast cancer warriors who bravely endured their breast cancer diagnosis and rose victoriously despite the multiple challenges that they faced, with the support of their care teams and love from their families and friends. I vividly recall how empowering that evening was. I was the one that was uplifted. That evening was so incredible. And I remember saying to myself, as much as I think I am going to me, as much as I think I am giving to my patients give back to me so much more. That was my aha moment. The moment that spoke to me as to why I evolved to my chosen profession and what keeps me there. It makes me even more keenly aware of the importance of compassion and truly giving of oneself. It is in the essence of reaching over the consultation table to hold a patient's hand, to wipe away a fearful tear as she falls asleep under anesthesia before surgery, and hugging a family member after a loved one's surgery to reassure them that the surgery went well. Often, our actions unknowingly inspire others. My daughter Gianna is 17 years old. She shared with me that she was moved by the care of and relationships that I had with my breast cancer patients, and she wanted to do her part. She created an organization called Pink Pom Pom. Through the generosity of donations, she lovingly creates and delivers care boxes to uplift the spirits of patients undergoing breast cancer treatment. And she also donates money she fundraises to support breast cancer research in the hope that someday we will find a cure. I am so proud of her, and you will hear her present her own story here today. Sometimes there's a serendipity to our purpose. One afternoon in the office, I presented a Pink Pom Pom box to a patient who was recently recovering from her breast surgery. I was moved by the strength and grace she embodied as she faced her diagnosis, her surgery, and her recovery. To me, the presentation of the box was a simple act of kindness. But to her, I would learn that it meant so much more. She told me that she was so touched to have received the Pink Pom Pom box and how it helped her tremendously to simply know that someone cared about her and was supporting her through her journey. She shared with me her own story of how she is deeply involved in philanthropy to serve and support others in need. I was so humbled by her generous heart, and I have such admiration for the good that she seeks to better our community and the world. Raquel, as much as I thought I was giving to you, you have given to me, and countless others so much more. As I reflect on my life story, I implore you to look at your own story, find your passion, and then from that, find a way to draw upon that passion and show your compassion. You will lead by example. You will lead with compassion. Know that we inspire and empower one another to be good and to do good things. This is what philanthropy is about. Thank you.
Thank you for this lovely announcement. Climate change, all the UN goals are very important, obviously, to Paris. I want to be on the board of our French Tech, and we will be having climate tech and anything related to all of that events next year. So I'm looking forward to having Bunchful involved as well. So obviously, thank you so much, Dr. Baleshi, and inspiring all the small movements that can create a world of difference for others. I'm excited for the next speaker, who is Lisa Andrews, and she's originally from Brazil. So it's a truly global day today. And she has 20 years of corporate experience and has pioneered the picture cure method, which she will be sharing all about it. I'm not going to share any details, so we can all ask her questions if we have. And as she empowers professionals to conquer stage fright and excel presentations. So I probably should have trained with her before. And I will welcome her today on stage with us as also a partner at the New York City agency, where she continues to contribute as a columnist to the Brazilian media in the United States, as well as being involved as a member of the Women's Media Group in New York City, where she shares her expertise across continents, touching lives in English, Spanish, and Portuguese, where she has appeared also on television networks and featured in Radical Reinvention, mostly focusing on women who are cancer survivors and just going through personal and professional reinvention she will be sharing with us a talk and a workshop on self-acceptance and well-being. Thank you.
Oh, well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Just listening, first of all, the two doctors before, you made me cry because the subject is so close to home. And before showing all this to you, I think you can hear me well. I can move around here so that it becomes more storytelling, right? I'm here today, despite all that was talked about, to talk exactly about this part of recovery and all this from maybe the patient's point of view a little bit. And so I'm here today to talk about the beauty within, even though we're judged by the outside most of the time. So ladies and gentlemen, appearance should not be the most important thing about us, and definitely it's not. But in almost 2 years working with self-esteem issues, I learned that we have to learn how to bring the beauty from the inside out. Everything that's valuable, that's great for us. 14 years ago, I was diagnosed with some kind of hormonal imbalance. Back then they didn't know it was an immune deficiency. And what that made was I started losing my hair on top of my head, having aging spots all over my face, and losing weight in an anorexic looking way. 40% of my family had some type of cancer, and since I was a kid, my parents always encouraged us to take care of them, to understand them from a very close point of view. And I thought, okay, with those genes, this is my turn. What I ended up having was a tumor in my pituitary gland that combined with a condition on my thyroid and an immune condition called Sjogren's. All this together would, in the long run, attack my bones and my glands with a lot of other discomforts, but they still could not diagnose all that at the same time. And I thought, okay, let's go see what this treatment is. And back then, it involved a lot of hormones that I was very afraid of taking with all this family history of cancer. And they told me that the other problems would come with years. Right now, it would affect mostly only my appearance. So I said, okay, as somebody who favors substance over beauty and appearance, I'm going to just go ahead and take some more time to make this decision. I'm going to tailor my suits, learn some special makeup to cover my skin flaws where a wig is necessary. And I'm so glad that I have my job to keep being productive, to take care of things, to help people in some other ways, and I focus on that. But funny enough, some of my colleagues, close friends, and even my husband in the occasion seemed very worried about what, according to them, was me neglecting my appearance and the effect that could have in my life. But the knockout punch came from where I least expected. I worked for an American-European company, oil and gas, important clients, making millions of commissions, and I had helped them close a very important deal, and they were going to have a celebratory party in New York City. What happened was that the week of the party, my boss comes to me and says, Lisa, that was long before the boost of social media and all the video calls we have today. So these clients talk to me mostly over the phone, and my boss comes to me and says, I'm so sorry, we value so much all you have done, but you seem so frail. I'm afraid that if they meet you in person, they are going to feel very shaken about you training their people for this deal. How about you don't attend to the party? Well, I kind of understood, but then, that specific day, I realized that looks, and I'm not talking beauty, I'm talking you being put together, looking powerful, is essential for everything. We're not talking dating, being a YouTuber, or looking attractive for your partner? We're talking about, they just had put me in the back seat because of the way I looked. So that day I went to Central Park wearing a ski hat and feeling like trash. What do I have to hold on to? And I'm also a photographer, so I took my camera and I started taking photos of the passersby, random photos, and feeling so different from them. Finally, excuse me, I sat somewhere and I started looking at those photos, and my boss's voice came to my mind. And I understood that he was not talking about beauty. He was talking about being weak. You look weak through your appearance. And I just turned that enormous camera to myself and took the most weird selfie ever. There were no smartphones over there. And then when I looked and saw there, I was shocked. In the photos, I looked even worse than in the mirror. The mirror I looked at every day. I thought, how is that even possible? Later, with my research and studies, I realized that because I didn't feel good looking in the mirror, I avoided enough to see reality. So that one photo was a much more objective tool for me to see what I really look like. And then I made the decision of doing my treatment, no matter the cost, under one condition, that I could have some kind of method to monitor my progress. And then I came home and planted a tripod and a photo camera in my living room and took photos of my face and body in different angles. And there, looking at those ugly photos, I was no longer the girl in the park. I put my emotions aside and I looked at that as if it were a project for that same company I worked for. Okay, this is the objective way to see it. So I remember Sun Tzu, for those who read The Art of War, you cannot defeat an enemy that you do not know. So that was not aesthetics anymore, ladies and gentlemen. It was about understanding what was going on and seeing, I am not that person. I'm going through illness and I can change things around. So I did this during the entire time of my treatment, taking care of diets and medication and all that needed. And I learned that during that period, looking at things in that way, I discovered how much body language could empower you when your body is not as its best. Because when we're not feeling good, we say, okay, it's just my hair or whatever, doesn't matter, substance, my diplomas, my intelligence. But some part of you knows that sometimes you're even scaring people if you look too frail. So when you are not looking great, but you can empower yourself with your gestures, with your posture, with whatever the body can offer, in other terms, now we're talking. So I lost that body, but not many others, or my husband. So what happened was, 2 years later, it took me almost 2 years, especially to recover hair and everything else, but I learned so much, and then well and healthy again, I was in Florida in a cancer hospital, accompanying somebody, and I had a chance to meet a group of women who had just recovered. They were in remission in exactly that phase that you are no longer afraid of dying, but you need to make peace with your new body. You doctors know very well how it is. And we shared these experiences, and I talked about my photography therapy method, so rudimentary that I had used just with myself. And along 4 years that I was in Florida, those brave women shared their experiences in something much more serious than what I had had. And together, they helped me refine my method to use even other audiovisual tools, videos, audio memos that now are part of what I founded as Picture Cure, the cure through photography, the outside and the inside, merging the inner and the outer, that goes with beauty, for confidence, for self-esteem, not only for aesthetics, but for those empowerment tools that you need for your job and for all your whole life. So I left my corporate job, came back to New York, and I started working with other women that came for me with other problems. Some were getting a new job and they did not feel comfortable speaking in front of a camera, and we could use cameras to help them with something that I call the studio box, to have a conversation, no matter if you have 2,000 people or 20 people in the room, you're talking to people, you're understanding what's going on there. So I helped a lot of executives with this, and a lot of other women that were going through self-esteem problems because of a divorce, aging, menopause, whatever that was making them feel away from their real identity. So nowadays in New York and in other cities that we travel abroad, and here when we have a chance, my partner Ana Cília Santiago and I offer in New York this service that's a full reinvention experience. We offer free, obviously, for everyone who wants to, the service of audio-visual therapy, teaching women who went through specifically breast cancer.
Brazilians leaders from Picture Cure and Ana Cília Santiago from More Than Breasts have been doing volunteer work for cancer survivors for years. And since they met in New York, they've combined their complementary skills to offer a full restorative experience. A free reinvention workshop to help breast cancer survivors regain their confidence to rejoin their romantic and professional lives. As well as the actual procedure, biomedical micropigmentation of areolas and scars for women who had breast reconstruction. The fear of dying followed by the mutilation of a body part that defines femininity can be crippling. Boosting self-esteem and showing breast cancer survivors new ways to love their bodies is vital to their mental health and believed to strengthen their immune systems. These NN assist mostly immigrants, many who don't speak fluent English, and also see in their help a cultural familiar embrace. Despite having no sponsors, they offer their time and expertise in New York once a month or upon request.
So, as I said, despite all these things, just like happened to myself, I see every day that for these ladies, self-esteem is not luxury. It is vital, not only for them to keep their professional and personal lives, but also their identities and their mental health. Thank you very much.
So how are we all doing? I know it's been a long afternoon. We have a very special guest, different rhythm this time, a little bit of music that's coming in. I'd like to welcome Oscar Derek Brown to start the wonderful awards presentation and ceremony. I can see a big smile on Raquel's face. So Oscar is an American composer, singer, songwriter, record producer, activist. Oh!
I'm going to do a little change today. Sometimes, we're changing things as we move, as we see the flow of the universe, the flow of, what's happening. And we were going to be doing the awards presentation here, but I think when we move into another space, because we know you've been here a long time with us, we have food, we have, so we have some great food waiting for you, and refreshments, and that's where we're going to do the awards presentation. But of course, we're going to get a beautiful rendition from Oscar, and I'll come back and tell you and finish off this part of the program with my story of the real story behind Bunchful. But for now, we're going to welcome the wonderful Oscar Derek Brown. And Oscar has, let me just say this. This is someone who has been performing with some of the world's greatest artists. Michael Jackson, Santana, Britney Spears, Oscar has, he's performed for film and television, for presidents all over the world. So we have someone here who has joined us to celebrate giving and celebrate giving by giving us his talent tonight. We have something really special surprise for you tonight. Actually, I'll hint at it right now. So obviously, everyone, again, good health and well-being. And we see all the wars happening all over the world, and the particular plight happening, across the world. And I am delighted to have here today someone from the Palestinian camp, someone from the Israeli camp, who are going to help and join me in presenting some of our awards today. More on that later. Thank you all, and let's welcome Oscar Derek Brown with his family.
I just want to say I'm very glad to be here, and I want to talk a bit about the music and about also the Bunchful Awards and how important it is. And I'm glad that they had a music component here. And initially, the state of arts in America right now is in a fluctuation, and trying to make adjustment to streaming, which is a new platform in music, and composers and writers and performers are struggling because of the pay rate is so low. And with 0.009% per stream, which is below a penny, it's difficult for them to make a living off of their craft work. And the only way that they can do it is basically through live performances. Usually, once upon a time, artists were able to make a substantial amount of royalties and payments because we had phonograph records and we had CDs. And although we embraced the technology, that we never expected this to happen. No one could have predicted that we would be put in this situation. So I myself and many people like me, we've been using our platform to go out as we go and perform to speak a bit about how important the arts are. And from the ground up, from children being able to be exposed to real live music and real performers, the orchestra, and how important live performances are. And recorded music is a vital component to that. A lot of the music that I'm going to play tonight will be improvised. And the melodies will be created in the moment from the cause and effect of all the people that are here, the energy of the people that are here, which is reflective of humanity. And as we are experiencing this period right now of suffering in the world, in the ongoing conflict which is happening right now in Israel and the Middle East. You know, this music I like to dedicate it to an offer of peace, that peace can finally come into existence. You know, we are in this new century, and when I remember as a kid growing up and talking about technology, the watches, cell phones. I remember Dick Tracy reading comic books, and we are living this experience right now. And I was born in 1953, and so I can only imagine what the world would be like at this point. So with all this technology, with all this capability that we have, certainly we can discover a way to live amongst each other as human beings. We only have one earth that we live on right now. And so I dedicate this music to that celebration of living and to the next generation. Thank you so very much.